Let's talk about today. This is our journal for the day. Today was good for the most part. Let's see about what I did and why I did it. So we had this is the initial balance, and coming into it, I was initially short. So my first trade was based upon uh, this area of contention. We can just call it that. Basically, I've seen this pattern, if you will, before, where you have some like resistance cluster here, 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 here. It doesn't need to be precise, with a sweep into that resistance going into the 630 open. So I took a short on the combine, not on the funded account, because the risk profile here was too high for a funded. So this would have been more than one R based upon the current uh, our current risk profile. This would have been too high. So we took a short on the Top Step Combine, and we were able to manage our emotions very well as price got to the 7:30 7 a.m. macro and gives us uh, the what's the word, the psychological bandwidth to not have to decide, do we close this position because the reality of this move is there was more liquidity going lower, or do we keep the position open? So I need to highlight the importance of this, of having bi-directional opportunity, or rather the bi-directional bandwidth to have a short, that short be valid, have targets on it, have some understanding on why it might continue, while also seeing that there's an opportunity brewing on the other side that is your standard setup. So what we have coming into this macro was a fair value gap that got created in the 5 minute chart. We have the jewel flashing green. We had price kind of slow down here and then create this reaction out of it. I did not see this, to be honest with you, because I was only looking at the 5 minute chart this morning, which I think was good because it forced me to kind of slow down a bit. So I entered on the 5 minute chart. Excuse me. Oh, this is annoying. I entered on the 5 minute chart here, somewhere around here. And what's interesting on that entry is it basically retouched this very small fair value gap. So my entry was here on both ES and NQ. When EQ revisited this area, I took a long here as well. So I had three I had three uh, MES contracts and one MNQ contract, and that is the perfect size. That is the size that we need to take until our book gets bigger to allow the size to increase. So we trimmed along the way, And I think the only thing that I think was, let's talk about how we managed the trade first. So I saw on ES was moving a bit more aggressive than NQ. And I think I want to highlight something here. What we're seeing, what I've seen this past week, is where price begins to accumulate at the area of interest. In this case, price accumulated at the open, so the open had a move down. Price begins to accumulate in some way, and then price breaks that level aggressively after 12:30 or around 12 something. So that could lead to another sweep, or it could lead to continuation. Either way, this is some of the behavior that I've been observing, so I feel like it's just worth noting. As of right now, I don't. If I were to do something with that, then it means that in my scenario, I said to myself, when ES reaches the area of interest, which in this case was the the open. So just for context, ES flushed down on the open for an initial balance move that was larger than usual, twice the size of the normal delta. And I said to myself, when ES reaches that level again, reach fair value, whatever you want to call it, equilibrium, whatever the word is, I don't know what's going to happen to NQ as a result, because NQ had not reached equilibrium, or had not reached the open, and but it did, however, hit the nearest relevant fair value gap, and price did slow down on both. So what I told myself was, I'm going to close my MNQ position, and I'll keep a runner on MES. In retrospect, I did not keep a runner open on MES. Now, granted, it would have, the reason why I didn't close it was 50, it was like 10, the distance from where price was to closing was so short that it wouldn't have made much of a difference. So I calmly said I would rather close here than to wait. And for what it's worth, price hit the target, so it would have been an extra, few dollars. But I still struggle with holding to target. And I think if there's something I could work on, it's like, if I'm doing 3+1 in terms of contract size, I need to be ready to let that one contract fully reverse to break even. Because the runners run. And then basically I saw that there was potentially a reversal happening or setting up. But I think the mistake here was the reversal that I thought would occur when we hit the open. When price reversed back to the open. What I've seen is when price returns to the open and creates a fair value gap that eventually gets invalidated, sets up for a reversal. We had a fair value gap that occurred before reaching, right before reaching the opening price. And that's not the same as a fair value gap that cuts through it. And I just want to highlight that I think the distinction is important. It has to cut through. So once that trade was complete, I closed that particular account for the day and said we are done trading this account. We can go back and trade the combine if we're seeing a quality setup that we think is occurring as the day gets later. Um, and then I closed out that trade uh, to have one of the better trading days I've had in a long time. I want to talk about how I felt. So I still woke up late. However, I wasn't panicked, which I think is interesting. I used to feel rushed. I used to feel like I had to rush to get to my desk to trade, and I don't feel rushed anymore, or at least I haven't felt that way in a while. Um, so I woke up, I looked at my laptop, not my phone. I kind of had a plan from the night prior, so that helped a lot. So I knew that prior I had not been like scoping out a plan before I go to sleep as to what I expect price action to happen in the overnight session, where I think price can go in the overnight session. So before I go to sleep, I make a plan. And in this case, I can wake up and see price action and make a determination. Did price go that way or not? I also need to highlight the reality that I also had an option contract that I experimented with from the previous day at closing, and I wonder if that closed at a small loss. Um, I do think that in some ways that psychologically made me feel like I wasn't missing anything. And I think there's something that I want to make sure I'm being like true to self. When I'm laughing because um, I really think that I should not be trading any zero DTE contracts at all until I get an understanding of some other things. Don't make that a major stopping point because it's not going to be worth the energy. But I'm recognizing like yeah, I should be doing that. So yes, I think the one improvement that I can make here from today's session is that the holding of the runner might be something worth talking about or worth exploring. All right, that's it.